Congress likes to tom-tom. But did the Congress give it the due to Narasimha Rao for this remains a big question.
Absolutely. These are the awards that have been announced. Karpuri Thakur, once again an icon who had worked for the upliftment of the underprivileged in our country. Mr. L.K. Advani, he was another one who was awarded Bharat Ratna. It's one of the highest civilian honors that can be conferred upon the citizen of any nation, the citizen of India. And it was instituted back on the 2nd of January 1954. The award is conferred in recognition of exceptional service, performance of the highest order, individuals who have contributed for nation's growth and integration in their lifetime. My colleague Pallavi also with us on the broadcast. Pallavi, Modi government's list of Bharat Ratna includes Karpuri Thakur, Chaudhry Charan Singh, and now the latest one being conferred upon Narasimha Rao Garu.
And I think the main point which is coming across is that none of these awards are going to be about a sense of entitlement. As far as the Padma Awards goes, very quickly, Anusha, it's given to people who are considered to be unsung heroes and heroines who no one even think about. So gone are those days where people who thought it was a matter of their right or political favors were being done when these awards were being given. In the case of Bharat Ratna, some of the names which have cropped up is, for example, given to the late Pranab Mukherjee, to give to Chaudhry Charan Singh, to give it to P.V. Narasimha Rao. None of them belong to the BJP. What the government wants to send out a message, and the Prime Minister himself wants to send out a message, is that none of them are part of the BJP, and therefore there is nothing political about it. They are all apolitical names. So we make no difference, no matter what political party you may have belonged to. If your contribution to India's legacy and heritage is immense, then you have every right to get that award. But behind this, I would think there's a political statesmanship apart, Anusha. There's a deep-rooted political thought also given to it. Let's take names of, say, P.V. Narasimha Rao.
Yep.
P.V. Narasimha Rao was someone the Congress party has never ever given credit to. Dr. Manmohan Singh always considered him to his mentor and guru, but I still remember those times when P.V. Narasimha Rao's mortal remains were not even brought inside the AICC headquarters. That has been a memory which has been etched deep in the minds of those who are supporters of P.V. Narasimha Rao. If you look at the posters and banners of the Congress party at their conclaves and events, Narasimha Rao has often been conspicuous by its absence, or it has been an afterthought. The Congress party, I remember the top leadership had skipped the Bharat Ratna ceremony given to Pranab Mukherjee. P.V. Narasimha Rao also adds on to that.
Hello, Namaskar. This is First Post and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. The biggest story tonight comes from Pakistan. The army has lost the election. Usually countries have armies. In Pakistan, the army has a country. And this is an army that has never won a war and never lost an election. But this time, there was an anticlimax. Nawaz Sharif has just declared himself the winner, the single largest party, at least that's what he says. But it doesn't really matter. People in Pakistan have voted against the army. There are reports of protests in many parts of the country after widespread reports of rigging. What will this election mean for Pakistan, India and the world? More risk, more uncertainty. We'll discuss all of that. And speaking of risk, Sam Altman, the man behind ChatGPT, is betting big again. A $7 trillion project on chips. We'll tell you all about it. In Myanmar, the junta remains on the back foot as the rebels gain ground. What does it mean for Indian projects and security? In Ukraine, Zelensky has fired his army chief. In the US, Joe Biden says his memory is fine after a probe report questioned his mental capacity. In Singapore, the Prime Minister has asked people to add little dragons to their family. We'll tell you why. Amid economic slowdown and cost of living crises, luxury brand Hermes is recording booming sales. Why is Taylor Swift getting so much hate? And what happens when an adopted child is returned? All this and more coming up. The headlines first. In India, at least 4 people dead in the violence in Uttarakhand's Haldwani, around 250 injured, including several police officers. Curfew imposed, schools and internet services shut, shoot-at-sight orders issued against rioters. Violence erupted after the demolition of an illegal Islamic school and mosque. Israel launches fresh airstrikes on Rafah in South Gaza. Around 1.5 million Palestinians are living in the city, which borders Egypt. The US says Israel's actions in Gaza have been quote-unquote over the top. This is the sharpest criticism from Israel's top ally since the war began in October. Donald Trump set for a big legal victory. The US Supreme Court likely to reject a bid to disqualify Trump. In December, Colorado's top court had disqualified him from the state's primary ballot for his role in the 2021 Capitol riots. Trump had challenged the verdict in the Supreme Court. The fractured 15-member West African bloc appeals for unity holds emergency talks on the political crisis in Senegal. President Macky Sall has delayed the election there. Earlier, 3 coup-hit countries exited the economic community of West African states called ECOWAS. Watch your weight. While travelling on Finnair, the Finnish carrier has begun weighing passengers with their carry-on luggage. Says it will help better assess the aircraft's weight before takeoff. The weigh-ins will happen till May on a voluntary basis. And FIFA break its silence on the introduction of blue cards, saying talk of blue cards at elite levels in football is premature. A blue card will be less severe than a red one. Since the 1970 World Cup, there has been no change in the rules regarding cards.
Muslim League-Nun is the largest single party in the country today.
Clear your calendar, grab some popcorn and buckle in, because this weekend is going to be rocky. Pakistan's election has just delivered the mother of all surprises, a googly for the ages. And at the receiving end is the army, a seasoned batter who's seen it all. So who will prevail in this high-stakes contest? Let's look at the scoreline first. Nawaz Sharif's Pakistan Muslim League is at 43 seats. The Bhutto's PPP at 28. And now for the big surprise, candidates backed by Imran Khan at 57. Pakistan's National Assembly has 266 seats, so to form a government you need 134, and Imran Khan is in pole position. But Nawaz Sharif doesn't seem to care. He visited his party headquarters a short while back, and Sharif says he has won this election.
Muslim League-Nun is the largest single party in the country today after the elections. और मैं समझता हूं कि हम इस मुल्क को भंवर से निकालने की तदबीर करें. हमने पहले भी अल्लाह के फजल करम से मुल्क को मुश्किलात से निकाला है और आज भी निकालने का एहतमाम कर रहे हैं. और मैं आपको बताना चाहता हूं कि हम सब पार्टियों के मैंडेट का एहतराम करते हैं, जिनको भी मैंडेट मिला है.
How about that? His party is trailing, but Nawaz Sharif says he has won the election. Well, that's Pakistani politics for you. Nawaz Sharif's plan is to build a coalition. He says he will reach out to other parties. But why is he celebrating prematurely? What exactly happened in the last 24 hours? Let's recap. Voting in Pakistan ended at 5 p.m. local time yesterday. Then the drama began. Pakistan's Election Commission began counting the votes. Most of us had the same expectation, an easy victory for Nawaz Sharif. After all, the army had played every dirty trick. Imran Khan was in jail. His party had lost its election symbol, the bat. Its top leaders were intimidated. So what could possibly go wrong? Well, late into the night, results started trickling in. And what did they show? Imran Khan's candidates in the lead. Most of them had contested as independents. and yet they were leading. Some trends showed Imran Khan's party, the PTI, crossing the majority, and that too comfortably.
It is quite apparent to know that Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf is leading on 125 seats by huge margins. That means in due course of time, we shall be in a position to form governments at the centre and in at least two of the four provinces.
The other side was in disarray. Nawaz Sharif himself was trailing from his seat. Most of his party leaders were nowhere to be seen. In contrast, Imran Khan's PTI hit the streets. Their supporters rallied outside polling stations. They refused to leave until counting was done.
From Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, the electoral symbol bat was withdrawn. Our leader Imran Khan was jailed. PTI supporters were given a message that you cannot win. But still, PTI supporters did not lose heart. The result of today's polling will be all in our favour.
The PTI supporters who young youth.
If our leader is in jail, we are his lions outside, and we will fight until a lion is out of jail. And we want Imran Khan to be out of jail as soon as possible. And inshallah, we will still win.
So everyone began asking the same question. Had Pakistanis beaten the army? Was Rawalpindi's script unravelling? Well, it was too early to say. Once the early trends emerged, a few suspicious things happened. First of all, the Election Commission's website went down. People could not access it anymore. Then the counting slowed down. Suddenly, results were simply not being published. Then at 3 a.m. local time, the Election Commission called a press conference in the thick of the night, 3 a.m. After all of this, you would think that the Chief Election Commissioner would show up, at least give an explanation for what was happening. Well, think again. Another election official addressed this presser, and he made two important announcements. One, the delay was because of the internet. Pakistan had snapped mobile services on voting day. Apparently, that was slowing things down. And announcement number two, the early trends were unverified, meaning the PTI's lead may not have been real. That's what the Election Commission officer said. Now, obviously, this sounds fishy, because yesterday the Election Commission said something very different. They said the internet shutdown would not affect counting. So what changed in a few hours? Only they can tell us. But afterwards, we saw some worrying pictures. Soldiers deployed outside counting centres. Soldiers pushing away PTI workers. Even some footage of ballot stuffing. Multiple journalists and activists have posted these pictures and videos, but we cannot vouch for their authenticity.
मोहरा लाते हैं जल्दी पास में चलानी भी है
Which brings us to today. Counting speed has improved compared to yesterday, but still the pace is slow. Pakistan's homegrown result transmission system is not working, so the results are being relayed physically, which means rigging is easier. The PTI has pointed out several examples. Take a look at this document. It shows results from a constituency in Lahore. The winner is Nawaz Sharif. But now look at the numbers and listen to this carefully. Around 293,000 votes were cast, 293,000. And how many were counted? 294,000. So where did these extra 1,000 votes come from? It looks like a classic case of rigging, and I must say, a poorly executed one. But even rigging can only help so much, because Nawaz Sharif actually lost his other seat. He was contesting from two constituencies. One was in Lahore, the other was in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Thanks to magic numbers, he won in Lahore. But the other seat, he lost. Reminds me of something he said on the campaign trail. Listen to this.
I love you too. If you love me, Nawaz Sharif also loves you.
Well, Pakistani voters have given the answer. They do not love Nawaz Sharif, not like they used to. He now represents a politics of the old, a politics that young Pakistan does not identify with. Many voters have openly called out the rigging.
हर काम पहले डिसाइड हो चुका है। यहाँ हम आवाम को ना सिर्फ हमारी आवाम के लिए हमें सिर्फ ना बेवकूफ़ बनाने के लिए सारा कर रहे हैं। मेरा छोटा सा एक है, मेरा वोट 14 साल से एक जगह पर रह रहा हूँ, मेरा वोट उन्होंने उठा के कोर्ट खुआया सही से उठा के उन्होंने कज़ाफ़ी स्टेडियम में उठा फेंक दिया। मुझे अब ये बताएं, मेरा वोट 14 साल से उधर है और कज़ाफ़ी स्टेडियम चला गया, मैं किस तरह डालूंगा? जब उधर बताएं।
ये हुकूमत की नालायकी है जी। ये पास का रिजल्ट भी रात 12 बजे आ रहे हैं। ये तो लक्षण हमें नहीं नज़र आ रहे, कुछ भी कोई रिजल्ट नहीं है। ये
जो डिले कर रहे हैं रिजल्ट, तो ये तो मुतनाज़ा बनाने वाली बात है ना कि कल से हम टीवी पे देख रहे हैं कि कौन सी पार्टीज जीत रही हैं और कितना आ गया, हर कोई रिजल्ट बता रहा है। और अब जो कुछ चेंजिंग हो रही है, तब्दीलियाँ हो रही हैं और रिजल्ट को जितना ज़्यादा डिले कर रहे हैं तो ये तो मुतनाज़ा बनाने वाली बात है।
Well, it's not game over yet. The results still show Imran Khan in the lead, but the Sharifs are not giving up. Maryam Nawaz says her party, the Muslim League, will be the single largest party. She says Nawaz Sharif will give a victory speech once the results are in. He's already spoken. He says theirs is the single largest party. So did the tide change overnight? The Sharifs seem to think so. But don't expect this drama to end with the results. Just think about it. Early trends showed the PTI forming a government, but 24 hours later, they could lose. How would you react to that? If you're an Imran Khan supporter, you would be outraged. And by the looks of it, Pakistan has many of those. So this election drama is not ending anytime soon. In fact, it's unlocked a new crisis. Now, what does this mean for Pakistan and the world? More uncertainty for sure, but that's not all. This election changes many dynamics, both within Pakistan and outside. We'll look at the three biggest takeaways. What should you make of this election and the result in Pakistan? Number one, Pakistan's army has failed, at least for the time being. Look at everything that they did for Nawaz Sharif. Got his cases dismissed, brought him back from London, put his chief rival in jail, delayed the vote to help him campaign, and yet the public sentiment was against them. Let's be clear about that. The final results may tell a different story, but this was a vote against the Pakistan army, against its meddling in politics. And that spoils Rawalpindi's calculations, because this election was supposed to be a clean slate, a chance to move beyond Imran Khan. But now Pakistan is back to square one. PTI supporters are organizing rallies and protests. Cases have been filed against 30 of them in Islamabad, and chances are this number will increase. So the polls have plunged Pakistan into more crisis. They've busted the army's aura of invincibility. Takeaway number two, the election has shown the power of technology in polls, especially artificial intelligence. Imran Khan was arrested in August last year, meaning he could not campaign. His party was also barred from holding rallies, and Pakistani media was banned from giving him airtime. Now, normally that would kill a political party, but not the PTI, because they turned to technology. Imran Khan used AI to deliver speeches. They used deepfake. His party held online rallies. They overcame physical restrictions with a digital outreach. In fact, their social media game was on point. The PTI has more than 9.8 million followers on X. The Pakistan Muslim League, Nawaz Sharif's party, has just 2.5 million, and it's pretty active too. Whether it's posting videos from polling stations or reaction videos from leaders or even foreign media analysis, the PTI's online campaign was very Gen Z. And it could be a template for other leaders and countries. And finally, takeaway number three, the external dynamics. What does this election mean for India and the world? Well, it's a tough one. For starters, Pakistan is a nuclear power. It is also home to multiple terror groups, the world's terror headquarters, if you will. And it's on the brink, its economy. So instability here is worrying. That's the biggest concern for Western countries. That's also why they keep backing the army to make sure that the nukes are safe. But this election will put the West in a tough spot. On the one hand, the army is their ally. On the other hand, the rigging is blatant. So what will Western countries do? The United States has not criticized the internet shutdown. It says it was tracking the curbs, whatever that means.
We are concerned about the restrictions on the exercise of freedom of expression. We are tracking reports of restrictions on internet and cell phone access across Pakistan on polling day. And we, along with the international community, will continue to emphasize the importance of democratic institutions, a free press, a vibrant civil society, and expanded opportunities for political participation of all of Pakistan's citizens. But I'm not going to get ahead of any of the other official election results, so I'm not going to comment on this any further.
Well, let's hope this is a wake-up call for them. Western countries have long been guilty of backing Pakistan. They've armed Pakistan's army, bailed out the government every time it's messed up, and ignored their support for terrorism. Maybe now is the time to shut the tap, to realize what Western money is used for in Pakistan. It doesn't reach the people for sure. Instead, it is used to enrich the army, to crack down on voters and subvert democracy. Will the US impose sanctions on Islamabad for this? I wouldn't count on it. The Americans forget democracy when it comes to Pakistan. Just think back to the elections in Bangladesh last month. Do you remember the pressure from Washington, the scathing criticism? But with Pakistan, it's all very businesslike. So Western capitals need to take a hard look at their policy because the current one is wrong. India too needs to be on alert. A clean slate may have triggered hopes of a reset, but now all bets are off. Pakistan's army looks weak and cornered. That also makes them more dangerous. We also can't rule out domestic unrest. Imran Khan's party is not the only one complaining of rigging. Most opposition parties feel robbed. What if they hit the streets in protest? What if terror groups capitalize on the unrest? These are all real possibilities. Of course, there is nothing that India can do about it. The only option is to wait and watch and be on your guard. Now let's talk about Sam Altman, the face of the global AI revolution. In November, Altman was front page news. He'd been unceremoniously sacked from OpenAI, a company that he created. Within weeks, he made a comeback. The entire saga was like a Hollywood blockbuster. There was corporate backstabbing. The board of OpenAI had turned on Altman. His departure led to a company-wide rebellion. Corporate giant Microsoft then made a power play. They offered a job to Sam Altman and practically everyone at OpenAI who wanted to leave. Soon, Sam Altman rose like a phoenix from the ashes. Within days of his sacking, he was reinstated as the CEO of OpenAI, and the shake-up only made him stronger. It was quite the story. He's now the undisputed champion of the global AI revolution. And with his newfound superpowers, he's gearing up to make his next big bet. A $7 trillion bet on chips, with the potential to shake up the global semiconductor market. The future of technology is chips and AI. The problem is there aren't enough of them. Altman wants to fix that by expanding production. You see, apps like ChatGPT run on special chips. And here's how they work. Imagine an office full of large stacks of paper. You're the manager. You need to sort out all these documents. You're looking for something specific and you must find it quickly. So you get a bunch of interns to sort out your stuff. They're keen, but they lack experience. They take a lot of time in sifting through the papers, but you don't have that kind of time. So you get more people to do the job, this time experienced ones, those who've done it before. And they prove to be more efficient. And that's exactly how AI apps like ChatGPT work. Chips are like the workers in office. Some can do a basic job and deliver slowly. Some have advanced skills and act faster. Some chips are designed just for AI. They're called GPUs. Graphic Processing Units, GPUs. Think of them as your experienced hands. They're more efficient. And the more such chips you have, the better and faster you can deliver. You can sort through more data quickly. You can reach more customers. And that's the goal that Sam Altman is chasing. If you cannot buy more such chips, make them yourself. That's the idea. Right now, NVIDIA has the monopoly in the AI chip game. We told you about this company yesterday. Last year in September, NVIDIA had 80% of the market share. 80% of the market share. Now, Sam Altman wants a slice of this pie. In fact, he wants to reshape the entire market. The plan is bold and ambitious. Last year, global chip sales stood at over $500 billion. By 2030, they're expected to touch $1 trillion. Altman wants to raise $5 to $7 trillion for his chip venture. So the proposed investment is 7 times bigger than what the market is expected to be. Where will this money be spent? To ramp up manufacturing and build infrastructure. Altman is basically proposing a partnership. He wants to bring together the top stakeholders in this space, the chip makers, the investors, and those who can power such factories. He wants to work with all of them. And what will be his role? Reports say he wants to be an investor. He'll offer money and set up the funds to build the factories and the chip foundries. And once these facilities are ready, the chip makers can run them. Now for this, he is looking to mobilize trillions. But where will the money come from? Apparently, there are potential investors. Sam Altman is said to have pitched the idea to the government of the UAE, to Masayoshi Son, who's the CEO of SoftBank, and to TSMC, the Taiwan semiconductor manufacturing company. It's the world's biggest chip maker. The ask is for $7 trillion. Let's put that figure in perspective. Microsoft is the main investor in OpenAI, also the world's biggest tech company. Microsoft is worth over $3 trillion. Apple comes second, worth over $2.9 trillion. So together, Microsoft and Apple are worth around $6 trillion. Sam Altman is asking for $7 trillion. It is a fact that entrepreneurs thrive on taking risks, and there are no rules on how big is too big. As of today, this looks like a visionary project. From a future opportunity to a present danger, let's talk about Myanmar, the coup-hit neighbor of India, now in the grip of violence. The military junta is in trouble. It is losing ground and the faith of its neighbors. First, it was China that cut its losses. Now it's India that's being forced to take some tough calls. An Indian project in Myanmar has come to a grinding halt. We're talking about Kaladan, a major undertaking aimed at improving India's connectivity with Southeast Asia. Kaladan was supposed to connect India's Kolkata port with Myanmar's Sitwe port. This is in the Rakhine state of Myanmar, Sitwe. But in recent days, progress has stalled. Reports say rebels in Myanmar have captured a town called Paletwa. This is a border town near the Indian state of Mizoram. The Kaladan project runs through this town. According to one lawmaker in Myanmar, the project is now, quote-unquote, almost dead. The army has lost control in this area. Rebels are in charge of all major towns and supply routes, and they're said to be gaining ground in Rakhine. So it's only a matter of time before they capture the entire state. They have surrounded the port of Sitwe and attacked Myanmar's navy there. The Kaladan project was supposed to connect to this Sitwe port. So clearly it is in trouble. And India has been watching these developments closely. This week, New Delhi issued an advisory. It said the situation in Rakhine is deteriorating. Indians in the state should leave, and those who plan to go there should not. Yesterday, another announcement was made. India scrapped the free movement regime. The free movement of people between India and Myanmar, it was scrapped. It was signed in 2018 for the benefit of families living on both sides of the border. It allowed cross-border movement up to 16 kilometers in either country without a visa. So if you lived in Myanmar, you could get a one-year border pass. You could cross over to India and stay here for 2 weeks at a stretch. The free movement regime also improved access to education and healthcare, plus it encouraged cross-border trade. But given the volatility in Myanmar, India is scrapping it. It also plans to fence the entire border. It's 1,600 kilometers long, the India-Myanmar border. 1,600 kilometers, New Delhi wants to fence it. What does it mean for Myanmar? People who want to come to India will have to get a visa now, no exceptions. Those who try to cross over without a visa will be treated as illegal immigrants. And this was needed, as a lot of people have been pouring to the Indian side. Since last year, India has sent back more than 200 soldiers from Myanmar. They were attacked by rebels, so they came to India to seek refuge. Now, this is an influx that New Delhi does not want. Myanmar is unraveling. It poses a security threat. not just to India, but also to Bangladesh, another neighbor. Recently, rebels seized an outpost on the Bangladesh-Myanmar border. When they struck, Myanmar's border guard force was on duty. They could not withstand the rebels. We're talking about 60 border guards here. All of them fled. They were seen running towards the Bangladesh border. Did the guards cross into Bangladesh? We don't know yet. What we can tell you is that Bangladesh too has heightened security. Bangladesh and Myanmar share a border that is 270 kilometers long. Just like New Delhi, Dhaka too is worried. The fighting in Myanmar is now spilling over in all directions. Now let's talk about a frozen conflict, the war in Ukraine. President Zelensky is in a difficult position. His military campaign is failing to deliver. Western aid is drying up and Ukraine's counteroffensive has hit a dead end. So Zelensky is trying to shake things up. Yesterday, he sacked his army chief and appointed a battle-hardened general in his place. This is the biggest change in Ukraine's military leadership since the war with Russia began in 2022. But will a change of guard be enough to revive Kiev's campaign? Our next report explores.
A handshake is often a symbol of camaraderie, but in this picture, it indicates the end of a period marked by tension. The person on the right is General Zaluzhny. Until recently, he led Ukraine's armed forces, but this week, he's leaving the job. A war is perhaps the worst time for a military shake-up. But for Zelensky, a change had become necessary. There was growing friction between him and the general. Zaluzhny was increasingly at odds with the president. Writing for The Economist last year, Zaluzhny had admitted the war with Russia had reached a stalemate. Zelensky's office disagreed. The president's team declared such commentary only benefits Russia. But Zaluzhny refused to be held back. Within weeks after this interview, his differences with Zelensky became more apparent. Zaluzhny wanted a mass mobilization. He wanted another 500,000 soldiers to be drafted. Zelensky disagreed. In recent days, the two leaders only grew further apart. The general took his complaints public. In December, Zaluzhny gave a press conference where he declared that he was unhappy with the way soldiers were being drafted.
As for the local draft offices, as of now, frankly speaking, I'm not currently satisfied with the work of the draft offices. If I was satisfied with their work, we would not discuss this bill right now.
The general was talking about a proposed law to reform the army draft program. The criticism was damaging for Zelensky. Zaluzhny became a household name and a national hero for fighting the Russians. He was an inspiring commander for his troops. Despite the stalled counteroffensive, Ukrainians showed more faith in Zaluzhny. According to a recent opinion poll, Zaluzhny was more popular than Zelensky. Despite that, the president sacked the general. He believes Ukraine needs a new approach and a different direction under a different general.
Суттєво більша технологічність дій армії.
Tens of generals are being considered for leadership positions in the army and will serve under the leadership of the most experienced Ukrainian commander, a true battlefield commander, Colonel General Organiser Syrsky. He has successful defense experience. He conducted the Kiev defense operation. He also has successful offensive experience, the Kharkiv liberation operation. I appointed Colonel General Syrsky as the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Ukraine.
Syrsky has led Ukraine's ground forces since 2019. He has a reputation of being an obsessive planner. When Russia invaded Ukraine, Syrsky successfully defended Kiev. He also pushed the Russian forces away from Kharkiv. As he charts the future for Ukraine's military, Syrsky has his work cut out. Breaking the Russian defenses is just one part of his mission. Syrsky also needs to fill in the big shoes of his predecessor.
Vantage continues after a short break.
Has never ever been given that kind of a credit by the Congress party because of the personal fight between Sonia Gandhi and PV Narasimha Rao. Chaudhary Charan Singh, very interestingly, at a time when RLD BJP talks are going on. So there's a method and a thought which is being given as far as the Bharat Ratna is concerned.
Pallavi, can I request you to please stay with us on the broadcast? Fascinating bits of history that Pallavi spells out for us. Mr. R.P. Singh of the BJP also joining us on the show. Good afternoon, Mr. Singh. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. The choice of awards, very interesting, and then a lot of non-BJP leaders being awarded the Bharat Ratna. Prime Minister Narendra Modi announces, I'm quoting what the Prime Minister has said right now, delighted to share that our former Prime Minister, Shri P.V. Narasimha Rao Garu, will be honoured with Bharat Ratna. As a distinguished scholar and a statesman, Mr. Narasimha Rao Garu served India extensively in various capacities. He is equally remembered for the work he did as the Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, Union Minister and as a Member of Parliament. It's a big move by Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the BJP-led government at the centre of awarding Bharat Ratna to Dr. Narasimha Rao, to Dr. P.V. Narasimha Rao, the former Prime Minister of the country. There has been a lot of criticism how he was treated by the Congress party, and in fact something that has been a blot on the legacy of the grand old party. The Prime Minister goes on to say that Narasimha Rao's tenure as the Prime Minister was marked by significant measures that opened India to global markets,
Is Joe Biden unfit to be president? It's a question we do not like asking. After all, age is just a number. We would much rather judge Biden on his policies. But the president is not helping his case. Recently, Biden was investigated by a special counsel. The case dates back to the last decade. Biden was suspected of mishandling secret documents. And what did the probe find? That Biden was guilty. He mishandled the documents. But that's not the biggest headline from this probe report. That would be this: Biden's memory has significant limitations. It's apparently hazy, poor, and painfully slow. That's what the special counsel said. Now, full disclosure, this counsel is a Republican. So he had reasons to trash Biden's memory. But his findings are still concerning. Apparently, Joe Biden did not remember when he was vice president. He also couldn't remember when his son died. And that last claim really riled up Biden. The president was visibly agitated by it. Listen to this.
There's even reference that I don't remember when my son died. How in the hell dare he raise that? Frankly, when I was asked the question, I thought to myself, it wasn't any of their damn business. My memory is not good. My memory is fine. My memory, take a look at what I've done since I've become president.
So Biden says his memory is fine. But moments later, he messed up. He was talking about aid passing from Egypt to Gaza, but he got confused between the presidents of Mexico and Egypt.
As you know, initially, the president of Mexico, Sisi, did not want to open up the gate to allow humanitarian material to get in. I talked to him. I convinced him to open the gate.
Just to clarify, El-Sisi is the president of Egypt. Andres Manuel Obrador is the president of Mexico. It's not the first time that Biden has got confused. He's making a habit of it. On Sunday, Biden got the French president's name wrong. He called him Mitterrand instead of Macron. Then on Wednesday, he made another gaffe. He confused Angela Merkel with Helmut Kohl. Both were German chancellors, but Biden only dealt with one of them, and that was Merkel. These mix-ups have raised questions about Biden's abilities. Is he fit to be in office, let alone run again? The Republicans, of course, don't think so. Chances are they will weaponize this report. It confirms what they have been saying for a while, that Joe Biden is mentally unfit. But is Donald Trump any better? He too has confused names recently. Trump was talking about his response to the Capitol riots. He confused Nancy Pelosi for Nikki Haley.
Nikki Haley, did you know they destroyed all of the information, all of the evidence, everything? Deleted and destroyed all of it, because of lots of things. Like Nikki Haley is in charge of security. We offered her 10,000 people, soldiers, National Guard, so whatever they want. They turned it down.
Guess who's capitalizing on this? Nikki Haley. She's released a new campaign advertisement. It brands Trump and Biden as grumpy old men. Now, some may call it a cheap shot, but age has become a key issue in this election. Joe Biden is 81 years old. Donald Trump is 77 years old. Compare that to the average age of US presidents, just 55 years. So the concerns are real. Around 76% voters are concerned about Biden's age. 48% think Trump is too old to be president. So both men face the same criticism. But is it a fair criticism? That's where the debate gets fuzzy. Presidents are public servants at the end of the day, so technically they're hired by the people. So why can't people demand younger presidents? Employers do it all the time. In the current atmosphere, it makes a lot of sense. The US is involved in 2 wars. It is also facing challenges from China. So now is the time for young, charismatic leadership. But who do they get? 2 old white men. And it's not just about their age, it's about their mental capacity. Mixing up names of your counterparts is funny the first time. But by the third time, eyebrows are raised. And that's what's happening now. Having said that, there is a silver lining for both men. In the final race, they can debate each other instead of a younger, more energetic candidate. That would have made the difference more stark. Luckily for them, it's old versus old. Speaking of aging, here's a fun fact. Before the end of this century, the world population will shrink for the first time since the bubonic plague of the 1300s. Not because of an increase in deaths, but because of a slump in births. Across the world, fertility rate is collapsing. In the year 2000, it stood at 2.7 births per woman. Today, it is 2.3, and countries are worried, including France. France has asked 25-year-olds to get fertility checks. This has invited massive backlash. Meanwhile, Singapore wants people to celebrate the Year of the Dragon by having quote-unquote little dragons of their own. That's what they're calling babies, to make the concept more interesting perhaps. But will these tactics work? Here's a report.
France has a baby problem. Its birth rate has been in decline for a decade now. But in 2023, it was down by 7% from the previous year. France's current fertility rate is at 1.7 children per woman. That's much lower than 2.1, which is the ideal fertility rate to have healthy population replacement. And now, France is panicking. But President Emmanuel Macron has a new plan, what he calls demographic rearmament.
Following the extension of paternity leave, I really believe in establishing a new childcare leave, which will replace the current parental leave. First of all, it will be better paid and it will allow both parents to be with their child for 6 months if they wish.
But that's not all. Macron also wants fertility testing done for those aged 25. And the French are not taking this well. Critics say he has made people's bodies a part of the national plan. That this is an offensive intrusion, especially as the number of people who start planning to have children at 25 is extremely low. The average age at which French women give birth is 31. France wants to impose tests instead of understanding why the birth rate is declining. So Macron is on the receiving end of a massive backlash. But France isn't the only one facing this plight. Singapore has a similar problem. In 2022, Singapore's fertility rate fell to a record low of 1.04. Last year, it rose to 1.17, which is progress, but still kept Singapore in the worst 3 fertility rates in the world after Taiwan and South Korea. Now, Singaporean Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong has urged families to have more children this year. He encouraged the people in his Lunar New Year address. This being the Year of the Dragon, Loong asked young couples to welcome little dragons into their families. Cute words of encouragement, but they may not be enough to solve the problem. After all, many countries are in the same boat. America, Italy, Spain, China, Japan. Across the world, countries are facing a big baby problem. They don't have enough. They've tried throwing money at the problem. Taiwan has spent more than $3 billion trying to get its citizens to have more children. Yet, it has the lowest fertility rate in the world. They've tried strange words of encouragement. Russia has asked women to have 8 or more children, and it's not working either.
Many of the countries such as China, Japan, Singapore, Taiwan, they have been trying various things to have a higher growth rate in population. Primarily, this has been through financial incentives for having children. But we are also seeing that they have not been as effective.
Experts say throwing money at the problem won't cut it. Neither would hollow words. People need affordable childcare and housing, more jobs, innovative policies like affordable freezing of eggs. If it's not financially and emotionally feasible to have babies, the birth rate won't increase. And until then, hoping that the birth rate will improve is as fantastical a thought as hoping for dragon babies.
Two years ago, a child was abandoned in Mumbai. That's India's financial capital. This 3-year-old boy was found by the police. He was sent to an orphanage. 5 months later, he was adopted by a family. This should have been a happy ending, but it wasn't. The adoptive parents were dissatisfied. They started complaining about the boy, claiming that he was badly behaved and they could not bond with him. So last year, they filed a petition in court. They wanted to return the child. This week, their wish came true. The Bombay High Court annulled the adoption, and within a year, this child was abandoned twice. This story may be shocking, but it's not unique. It happens all the time. Thousands of children are successfully adopted each year, and a number of these cases end in failure. Adoptive families cannot cope, and they return the child. Between 2014 and 2019, more than 1,000 adopted children were returned in India. The highest number was seen in 2015, when about 9% of all adopted children were returned. But on average, 4% of Indian adoptions are dissolved every year. These numbers are jarring, but they're not limited to India. In America, up to 5% adopted children are returned each year. In the UK, up to 9% adoptions fail annually. Putting a child up for readoption is fairly common. But legally speaking, adopted children are no different from biological children, legally. And for this reason, returning an adopted child is just as legally complicated as giving up a biological child. Different countries have different mechanisms for this. In India, if a child has been adopted officially, the matter of return lies with the court. They get to decide if the child can be returned. It's a long, winding process. It differs from case to case. But one thing is common. The family suffers. And of course, the child's life is deeply disrupted. The experience leaves children with significant trauma and with lifelong doubts and concerns. But apart from the emotional consequences, what happens to those children whose adoptive parents no longer want them? In an ideal situation, children are sent back to the orphanage with a second chance at adoption, coupled with hopes for a better outcome. But our world is not an ideal place. Reports say many children are temporarily benched. They are removed from the adoption list until they can prove their preparedness again. Reports say only 0.04% of returned children are adopted again. But many adoptive parents are so desperate to return the child, they don't want to take the legal route. And that's where the problem gets much worse. In 2010, an American woman adopted a 7-year-old boy from a Russian orphanage. But soon she put the child alone on a plane back to Moscow with only a note claiming that he was mentally unstable. The case caused international outrage. Now put internet in this mix, and this is the result. Unwanted adopted children are being traded online in an underground network, and adoptive parents are putting up Facebook ads to rehome children on their own. So adoption dissolution is complex. But the big question is, why are so many adopted children sent back? They tend to face a range of problems, including behavioral issues, past trauma, educational problems, disabilities, which is why differently abled and older children are sent back the most. In India, children above 8 years of age face the biggest risk of this. A lot of times, the institutions can be at fault. Adopters have accused organizations of omitting details about children. Sometimes children are not counseled about what it would be like to live with a family. They don't know. Most parents are not prepared to address these problems, and some don't even want to. But despite this blame game, one thing is quite clear. This system of adoption is flawed. It suffers from a cavalier culture of disposability, where a child is either ends up with a blessing or loses another set of parents. There is no in between. It's both unfortunate and dangerous. Have you heard of the Birkin bag? It's produced by luxury brand Hermes. A basic model costs around $10,000, but here's the catch. You can't just buy a Birkin. You must be invited to buy it. Customers must first build a relationship with Hermes, which basically means buy other products. Then they must make a wish. Tell the sales associate which bag they want. And this wait can be short or long depending on availability. And when offered a Birkin, saying no means the end of that relationship. Such is the allure of this brand. The world may be going through a cost of living crisis. Spending may be down. There may be gloom and doom in the luxury market, but Hermes continues to power on. In the last quarter of 2023, the brand reported an uptick in sales. It was up by almost 17.5%. So what makes Hermes so popular? How has it maintained its exclusivity for almost 200 years? Our next report tells you.
The year was 1837. In Paris, Thierry Hermes had a new venture. He made harnesses for a living. Hermes understood the needs of the customer. So the brand grew. By the 1880s, a new store popped up. Here, harnesses and saddles were made to measure. While the brand's popularity continued to grow, the real breakthrough came after the First World War, as Hermes ventured into leather goods. It happened under Émile Hermes, the grandson of Thierry Hermes. In 1925, Hermes launched its first ready-to-wear garment. It was a men's golf jacket. Soon, there was jewelry, watches, sandals, and scarves. But it was in the 1930s that Hermes ventured into bags. It happened under Robert Dumas. He was the son-in-law of Émile Hermes. He designed the Kelly bag, which became a hit only in 1956. That's when Grace Kelly was seen carrying it. It became so famous, they named the bag after her. In 1984, they had another sure-shot hit, the Birkin. It was inspired by singer Jane Birkin. She was on a flight to London. She found herself sitting next to Jean-Louis Dumas, the son of Robert Dumas. Birkin spilled the contents of her handbag. So Jean-Louis said, "You should have a bag with pockets." Birkin replied, "I would, the day Hermes makes one." The rest is history. Dumas drew the first sketches of the bag on the plane. A year later, the Birkin was born. Soon it became the world's most coveted handbag. Victoria Beckham has over 100 of them. The world's most expensive Birkin sold for $380,000. The starting price for any Birkin is $10,000. It is made by a single artisan and takes 48 hours to make one bag. Every one of them is hand-stitched, and there are about 200,000 bags in circulation. Hermes thrives on three things: scarcity, exclusivity, and the psychological impact that it has. First, there's exclusivity. Hermes makes limited number of bags, so you feel you must get your hands on one of them. Then there's scarcity. You just can't walk into a boutique and buy it. This isn't just a marketing gimmick. It is part of the company's DNA, because Hermes makes its bags by hand, requiring meticulous craftsmanship, which means Hermes can only produce a limited number of bags every year. So the supply is limited. The demand is high. Everyone wants one, which explains the resale value of the Birkin or even the Kelly. Hermes bags are an appreciating asset. In the last 35 years, the value of the Birkin has increased by 500%. That's an average annual return of 14.2%. This is higher than both the S&P 500 and gold. So, they are an investment. And the craze continues till day. It was famous in the 1990s and it is still popular among the Gen Z. Take these hashtags for example. Hashtag Hermes unboxing has over 200 million views. Hashtag unboxing of Burkin garnered 82 billion views. Explains why Hermes sales are still outpacing its rivals. In the fourth quarter of 2023, sales jumped 17.5% to over $3.6 billion. The brand saw strong growth in all regions, especially China. For any fashionista, scoring a Birkin or Kelly is a dream come true. It's a potent combination when you mix exclusivity and scarcity. And Hermes has backed it with unparalleled success.
Our last story tonight is about Taylor Swift. If you haven't been living under a rock, you must have heard about her. She's an American pop star, a pop culture phenomenon. Taylor Swift is lifting economies and causing earthquakes. Colleges are teaching about her, and Joe Biden wants an endorsement from her for 2024. It shows you how big she is. But with great fame comes great criticism, especially when you're a woman. Taylor Swift may be loved across the globe, but she's always under great scrutiny. And you can't dismiss it as a cost of celebrity. This is misogyny. Our next report tells you why the world loves to hate Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift, it's a name that resonates globally, across generations, genres, and even continents. She just won Album of the Year at the Grammys. She's on a whirlwind world tour, and she's unstoppable. Taylor Swift started as a country singer and songwriter. She's now a global pop icon, capturing the minds and hearts of millions. Yet the admiration and accolades are not enough. Somewhere in between all this lies a paradox. It's the fact that the world loves to hate her. It started early in her career. With every album, Taylor Swift offered something different. A new genre, a new theme, her journey as an individual. Yet for many, that's the sign of inauthenticity, of her showing different colors, of not being her true self. In 2016, it was like the whole world hated her. A feud with Kanye West made everyone believe that her career was over. Her reputation was down in the ditches. But Taylor made it back, and how? She reinvented her image. She released new albums. She powered on. And then came the latest Eras tour. Her massive global tour spanning countries and continents. It's catapulted her into never-seen-before fame. It caused earthquakes. It's lifted economies. World leaders want her to tour their country, and the global economy is thankful to her. But even at the height of her fame, the jibes continue. And the biggest is about her love life. Taylor's songs talk about love, betrayal, friendship, and everything in between. But the focus is only on one fact, how she dates men and writes about them. Media has called her a serial dater. Tabloids speculate which breakup she will write a song about next. It's blatant villainization, something that's never associated with men, even when they write love or heartbreak songs, the likes of Ed Sheeran, John Mayer, and Bob Dylan. But the scrutiny doesn't just end there. Another cause of grief is her private jets. She's criticized for the number of flights she takes, the places she goes to, for not being a climate champion. Much of it is her fault, but the criticism is often limited to just her. Plus, her presence always seems to spark a debate, whether it's on the football field or at the ballot box. The Democrats want her endorsement. The Republicans call her a left-wing conspiracy. And football fans seem to want to burn her on the stake. All for what? For voicing her public opinions and showing up at NFL games to support her boyfriend. The whole problem might be that Taylor Swift is a successful woman in an industry often dominated by men. Did someone say double standards? Swift is now in her own legion, but the sexism still doesn't end. She has battled sexual assault, fought against rampant misogyny. From her love life to what she wears, everything is dissected, everything is scrutinized. In some circles, it's just cool to hate Taylor Swift. But whether you love her or hate her, there's no denying one thing. Taylor Swift has left her mark both on the music industry and pop culture. And whether haters like it or not, Taylor Swift is here to stay.
Vantage continues after a short break.
The army is also player, though the army is not on the ballot paper. But there has been wild speculation about the army's role in manipulating these elections. So I think it's best for people to understand that the army is also a player in these elections. The projected results of these general elections suggest that the Pakistan Muslim League, led by former Prime Minister Sharif, is the likely front runner. He, of course, comes in with the aim of assuming the role of Prime Minister for the fourth time, which will be a record in Pakistan. Behind him is going to be the Pakistan People's Party, another prominent mainstream party led.
And now it's time for Vantage Shots, images that tell the story. In Italy, farmers reached the Colosseum with tractors, protesting against the government. In Iceland, flowing lava threatens the country's top tourist attraction, the Blue Lagoon geothermal spa. And medal winners at the Paris Olympics will take home a piece of the Eiffel Tower. Finally, we're taking you back in history. On this day in 1969, the Boeing 747 flew for the first time. The jumbo jet was the world's largest passenger aircraft at the time. It was called the Queen of the Skies. The 747 revolutionized flying, making it cheaper for the world. We're leaving you on that note. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend.
notre tour Eiffel unitaire.
a very warm welcome. You're watching CNN News 18. I'm Akanksha Swaroop and we are getting in breaking inputs coming in from Pakistan. Remember, their results are coming in thick and fast as the country is all set to elect a new government. And amidst all of these developments, former Pak Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif has claimed victory in these polls, inviting all parties to form a coalition government. Even as the counting of these votes was ongoing, Nawaz Sharif said that the PML-N had emerged as the single largest party but did not have the majority. He also says that he had told former Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif to reach out to the PPP's Asif Ali Zardari, JUIF's Fazlur Rahman and MQMP's Khalid Maqbool Siddiqui for the formation of a coalition government. Now, as of 8 p.m. Pakistan time, we are learning that 221 National Assembly results have been announced. Independent candidates, remember, they are playing a key role in the ongoing results, as we are learning that they are leading with 90 seats, followed by 62 seats of PML-N, 51 seats of PPP, 11 for MQM, 2 for IPP, 2 by JUI as well as 2 for PMLQ. We'll break down these seats for you in just a bit, but for more details, let's quickly go across to Abhishek Jha, who's joining me on the phone line. Abhishek, in the speech that has been delivered by the PML-N Supremo, what is very surprising is the change of stance and the tone of tenor. It is the same Nawaz Sharif who had taken on the army during his previous stint, has now in fact softened his tone by saying that I tried to take this country in 1990 to a different tangent, but we lost track. How do you put this into perspective?
Well, whatever we are, hearing from Nawaz Sharif is also a lot of realization that he has had in this election, because apparently he has only struggled to, win his own seat. There was a time when he was trailing from his nearest contender, that was from PTI, and there is still accusation coming from PTI that there are reports and there are rigging. PTI's accusation is that, and also the Punjab province, which happens to be the stronghold of Sharif family, couldn't give them enough number of seats that would make them, one of the biggest party in the parliament. So I think a lot of realization is partly why Nawaz Sharif's tone has come down, and he has also extended kind of olive leaf to other political parties, where now Shehbaz Sharif seems to be steering all the policy and negotiations from the side of PML-N. There is also chances that we have already reported that Shehbaz Sharif could emerge as a PM candidate because we have seen Bilal Bhutto's earlier interview during political campaign time. He was very annoyed and he was apprehensive about Nawaz Sharif becoming Prime Minister. So clearly Shehbaz Sharif has been in the power, and he can once again become the Prime Minister as a consensus candidate.
Absolutely. It's very interesting, Abhishek, you say that, considering just a day before the polls, the PML-N had stepped out, and in fact Shehbaz Sharif had made it amply clear that if their party comes with a heavy mandate, it will be Nawaz Sharif who will be leading. But now with this probability comes into effect a different sort of formulation for the government that we may see in the days to come. But I'll ask you to in fact continue staying with us. Let's also break down the numbers that have poured in so far for all our viewers. Remember, it is 221 as far as the National Assembly results that have just arrived are concerned. Independent candidates, remember, are leading with 90 seats, and the victory for PML-N comes at a time when it has secured 62 seats. So as the single largest party, it is of course heading with the number 62. PPP has come up with 51 seats so far. MQM has won 11 seats, 2 seats for IPP. JUIF, which is also in touch with PML-N right now, is what we are learning. Pashtunkhwa Milli Awami Party has won 1 seat. Now remember, all of this is arriving at a time when 44 seat results are still awaited. On that note, let me quickly go back to Abhishek. Abhishek, let's have a word for all those independent seats that are coming in. They seem to be taking the lead. At the same time, could they play a crucial role as a kingmaker now?
Well, there is no denying of the fact that former Prime Minister Imran Khan and his political leaders backed by Imran Khan's party, they have clearly swept Khyber Pakhtunkhwa region, they have swept Balochistan, they have enough and reasonable number of seats in Punjab province also and in Sindh province also. So these formulations says that even if they sit in opposition if Imran Khan's party is sitting in opposition, they are going to create a trouble for the incumbent, whoever will be in the government, and the political stability will be, another big question. So if Imran Khan's backed candidates are not part of any coalition, that is again going to be a politically unstable government. While army would as much like the political stability or the political strength of the government not to be very strong, they would still not want a political scenario where the stability is within 1 year or 2 years, another election scenario could emerge. And
All right.
Pakistan is also looking to other countries, other international monetary institutions who are closely watching the entire political process, and the stability of political government will depend or will decide how much financial aid and assistance and grants Pakistan will be able to secure from the international
All
market.
right, many thanks to you, Abhishek, for that key news inputs coming in from Pakistan. Remember, the big story right now that we are bringing to you is that PML-N is now opening doors for talks as far as a coalition government is concerned. Of course, who's heading these talks is Shehbaz Sharif, along with Asif Ali Zardari, Fazl-ur-Rahman and Ishaq Dar, who we all know is a PML-N leader as well. We'll keep close tabs on Pakistan, but with that, let's now bring focus back to India. All right, we're getting in breaking inputs. We're learning that a motion for discussion on the Ram Mandir in the Lok Sabha is all set to take place from 11 a.m. onwards. In the Rajya Sabha, this will also happen at 3 p.m. onwards. The BJP, in fact, has issued a whip to all its members in both houses for tomorrow. The Prime Minister is expected to speak at about 5 p.m. on the Lok Sabha term also coming to an end ahead of these elections. For more details, let's quickly go across to Payal, who's joining me on the phone line. Payal, to begin with the Ram Mandir, what are you learning as far as the Ram Mandir proposal is concerned? What will be those aspects that the BJP will be looking to emphasize on?
Well, the BJP certainly will say that it was the political will of the government that actually led to the building of the Ram temple in record time, and that has also happened after the blessings of the court and after the decision of the court as well. But why Ram Mandir was such a far-fetched dream for so many Ram Bhakts over the last few centuries is what the BJP is likely to highlight in the discussion that will take place in both houses of parliament. Very interestingly, this debate takes place on the last day of the parliament session, the last of the budget session just before 2024. Obviously, it will have a lot of political implications because the BJP has spoken about the issue as well. But to use the floor of the parliament, to send a message, Akansha, is very, very important as well. We'll have to just wait and see, because in the short-term duration discussion, normally there's always a reply by a minister from the government. Who does the BJP decide to field will also be very important. It could probably be one of the senior ministers who've had a lot of say as far as the Ram Mandir movement is concerned. It could be something of that sort of is to watch out for as well. But the parliament will end tomorrow with the Rajya Sabha discussing this in the motion. It begins at 3 p.m. And in the Lok Sabha, the reply from the Prime Minister will come only on the Lok Sabha term coming to an end. As you call it, it's the Vidai Samaro, as you call it.
Payal, a brief takeaway on the fact that this is going to be the last day of the last Lok Sabha session before the polls take place. Do take us through how significant this was and what were the bills that were passed.
Well, it is a very important session, given the fact that you not only saw the budget being passed, you saw the president address being replied to by the Prime Minister, where he spoke about the BJP looking at 370 and of course the NDA looking at 400. And also you saw a discussion on the white paper take place today in Lok Sabha, where Nirmala Sitharaman replied. So quite a few takeaways. And of course the final icing on the cake will be the Ram Mandir discussion, because there are various political parties who rejected the invitation to go to Ram Mandir, for various reasons known to them. But the government will really say that, this is the Astha, this is the question of the Astha, and of course this was realized. And while they are likely to draw a comparison of what the previous governments really do, they will also are likely to highlight how the Narendra Modi government has been able to bring to the reality the dream of thousands and thousands of Ram Bhakts, and in a way Ram Rajya is going to be established.
Right. Many thanks to you, Payal, for bringing in all those inputs. And with that, let's now shift focus to other news stories that are making national headlines. After Karpuri Thakur and Mr. L.K. Advani, 3 more stalwarts have been honoured with the Bharat Ratna, and the announcement was made today. Former Prime Minister Mr. P.V. Narasimha Rao, along with Mr. M.S. Swaminathan and Chaudhary Charan Singh, have been honoured with the prestigious award. Prime Minister Modi took to Twitter to announce this news through a heartwarming message for the former Prime Minister and his contribution to the Indian economy and
politics. Opposition leaders have expressed their gratitude for the same, including Congress MP Sonia Gandhi. However, some opposition leaders have called this move a political one while questioning its timing right ahead of the 2024 Lok Sabha elections. CNN News 18's Shivani Gupta spoke exclusively with PV Narasimha Rao's grandson NV Subhash over the government honouring the former Prime Minister with the Bharat Ratna. Listen in.
I'm sure it is a great day for you and your family. But I do want to begin by asking you, did you see this coming? Prime Minister Narasimha Rao was Prime Minister 30 years ago, and the recognition of a Bharat Ratna has come today. Did you see this coming?
Thank you very much for your, the kind gesture. First of all, I would like to thank Narendra Modi's government for honouring the great person. Though he belonged to the Congress party, Narasimha Rao ji has been contributing a lot of good to this country. His contribution has been recognized by Narendra Modi's government. First of all, on behalf of the family members, I thank to him. Late but never late. And we have been anticipating that definitely only under the regime of Bharatiya Janata Party and that to Narendra Modi's government. Definitely we thought, we hoped that and then we anticipated that Bharat Ratna will be honoured to him. And this is the the greatest moment. And we thank Telangana Bharatiya Janata Party also for constantly supporting our family and our, the contributions of Narasimha Rao.
I'm sure that he would have also been happy if the news had come during his lifetime. But he was never somebody who worked for awards or who waited for recognition. A lot of awards and recognition came to him. But he was motivated more by the results of what he did on the ground and the people's love and affection. So he always used to remember the farmers that he met. Wherever he went in India, farmers would come and meet him.
All right, let's also break down for you why the announcement of the Bharat Ratna to these three stalwarts stands out and how significant it is. Firstly, it also takes you through the fact that this is a farmer's first champion of the cause for the farmers, as far as Chaudhry Charan Singh or even Dr. Swaminathan both of them have been key figures as far as the field of agriculture is concerned. Secondly is the Southern Connect. Remember, Mr. P.V. Narasimha Rao and Mr. Swaminathan, both of them have a Southern Connect. They hail from Southern India. And thirdly, it is the non-partisanship, because two of the awardees come from non-BJP backgrounds. They do not belong to the BJP, and it is, of course, the highest civilian honour for their contribution. At the same time, let's also bring you the political reactions that have come in.
2024 का चुनाव नजदीक है और वोट बैंक की राजनीति के लिए जो जाति जनगणना का विरोध कर रही भारतीय जनता पार्टी वो कर्पूरी ठाकुर जी को भारत रत्न देती है। एडवाणी जी के साथ अच्छा व्यवहार न करने वाली भारतीय जनता पार्टी केवल वोट बैंक की राजनीति के लिए एडवाणी जी को भारत रत्न देती है। और आज किसानों के खिलाफ काला कानून लाने वाली भारतीय जनता पार्टी किसानों के मसीहा चौधरी चरण सिंह जी को भारत रत्न देती है केवल वोट बैंक की राजनीति के लिए। देश की जनता भारतीय जनता पार्टी के इस व्यवहार को देख रही है। वो केवल भारत रत्न देने से भारतीय जनता पार्टी को वोट मिलने वाला अब नहीं है।
देखिए, भारत रत्न राष्ट्रपति देता है तो बहुत अच्छी बात है कि ये जो है भारत रत्न दिया गया। पीवी नरसिम्हा राव जी जिन्होंने आर्थिक सुधार सबसे जबरदस्त किए थे, और मुझे दुख है कि उनके साथ मनमोहन सिंह जी वित्त मंत्री थे। इन दोनों ने आर्थिक सुधार लाए जो बाद में 2004 से 14 तक लागू हुए। उसके खिलाफ श्वेत पत्र आ रहा। तो एक तरफ तो आप उस टीम को भारत रत्न दे रहे हैं और दूसरी तरफ उसी टीम की जो है आलोचना कर रहे हैं संसद में। नरसिम्हा राव जी को भारत रत्न देने का हम स्वागत करते हैं, चौधरी चरण सिंह को भारत रत्न देने का हम स्वागत करते हैं।
Bharat Ratna for P.V. Narasimha Rao, ma'am.
Well, I welcome them. Why not?
Bharat Ratna for P.V. Narasimha Rao, ma'am.
Well, I welcome them. Why not?
ये बहुत बड़ा दिन है, मेरे लिए भावुक पल है, ये यादगार पल है, स्मरणीय है। मैं भारत की महामहिम राष्ट्रपति जी को, भारत सरकार को और विशेष तौर पर प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी को, क्योंकि उनके विजन का हिस्सा है, जो उन्होंने निर्णय लिया, भारत रत्न से नवाजा है। 3 अवार्ड दिए गए हैं, खासतौर से चौधरी चरण सिंह जी को जो सम्मानित किया है। बहुत बड़ा संदेश पूरे देश में गया है। देश की भावनाएं इस सरकार के इस फैसले से जुड़ी हैं और ये साबित किया है मोदी जी ने कि वो देश की मूल भावना और चरित्र को बेखूबी समझते हैं और जानते हैं।
इसका संज्ञान पहली बार की गवर्नमेंट ने लिया है, मोदी जी के नेतृत्व की हमारी गवर्नमेंट ने लिया।
दलगत राजनीति से ऊपर उठकर पीवी नरसिम्हा राव को भी सम्मानित किया।
नहीं, बराबर दलगत राजनीति से ऊपर उठकर ही हम लोग इस प्रकार के फैसले कर रहे हैं।
With that, let's now shift focus over to Kashmir. The Indian Railways Vista Dome coach has received massive response from tourists in Kashmir. The breathtaking views en route and some high-end features in the train have left passengers travelling from Srinagar to Banihal in absolute awe. Let's have a look at this report by CNN News 18's Eshan Vani.
Today I'm coming to you from inside of this Vista Dome coach which runs from Srinagar to Banihal in Jammu division. This gives you a mesmerizing look at the beauty that Kashmir has to offer. The mountains covered with snow and the landscape is undoubtedly which you haven't seen in the past, and this passes through the rural part of Kashmir, giving you an idea of apple orchards and beautiful landscape that's on offer, because there are big windows, comfortable seating, and the ceiling is also partially covered with glasses. So this gives an open air look and then also offers you some of the best landscapes, because the snow is still on the ground and people are now comparing it that this is not less than Switzerland when you sit inside and go through these peaks. Now let me take you inside and show you that how this train feels like, because it's getting popular among locals and tourists alike. I have with me the man in charge of Vista Dome coach. I have with me Prabhat. Mr. Prabhat is from the Northern Railways. बताइए कि क्या अनुभव है इसमें लोगों का और कितने लोग आते हैं और कितने कंफर्टेबल ये चीज़ है?
ये इसमें बहुत लोग घूमने के लिए आते हैं डेली, लगभग 20 लोग आते हैं आते समय और जाते समय। और ये इसके बाहर का जो सीन होता है बहुत अच्छा, देखने में आनंददायक फील होता है। ये एक वंदे भारत से कम नहीं है ट्रेन, और इसमें और ज़्यादा अधिक से अधिक कोच जुड़ने वाले हैं जिससे और ज़्यादा लोग आएंगे।
क्या क्या फैसिलिटीज है इसके अंदर? सीटिंग की बात
इसके अंदर सीटिंग का जो है बहुत कंफर्टेबल है, आराम से बैठ के जा सकते हैं। ये 360 डिग्री पूरा घूम जाता है, पूरा घूम के उधर बाहर का नज़ारा देख सकते हैं, बाहर वादियों को देख सकते हैं, बाहर बर्फ को आनंददायक अनुभव ले सकते हैं।
कितने लोग आते हैं ऑन एन एवरेज? कभी फुल भी जाती है आपने कहा?
हाँ, 20 से 25 लोग तो एवरेज आते ही हैं।
आपसे जानेंगे कैसा सफर रहा है ये, क्योंकि खिड़कियां बड़ी हैं, कुर्सी है,
बहुत बढ़िया है, सफर बहुत अच्छा है, ट्रेन का सफर बहुत अच्छा है, बहुत मजा आ रहा है, लुत्फ आ रहा है गाड़ी में, इसमें बैठ कर, ट्रेन में बैठ कर। बड़ी बड़ी खिड़कियां हैं, नज़ारे देख रहे हैं, पहाड़ियों पर बर्फ देख रहे हैं, और यहाँ सब बर्फीली पहाड़ नजर आ रहे हैं, और टूरिज्म को बहुत बढ़ावा मिलेगा इस ट्रेन के सफर करने से।
आपको लगता है कि और लोगों को आना चाहिए?
हाँ, लोगों को आना चाहिए, कश्मीर जरूर आना चाहिए। ये जन्नत है, पूरा जन्नत है कश्मीर।
बहुत अच्छा, बहुत जैसे जन्नत का नज़ारा है।
तो क्या ऐसे और कोचेस चलने चाहिए? आपको लगता है कि ऐसे और जगह कोचेस बनने चाहिए ताकि और रेलें ऐसे चले?
जी हाँ, बननी चाहिए। इसमें बहुत आराम है, बहुत ये फैसिलिटी है, बहुत आराम है, नज़ारे भी बहुत अच्छे नजर आ रहे हैं, होना चाहिए ऐसा।
थैंक यू। So as you heard from these passengers that this is one of those journeys which takes you through the mesmerizing beauty of Kashmir and something which they will remember during their lifetime.
Bilawal Zardari Bhutto and his father Asif Ali Zardari. They will probably come in with far fewer seats, but with a hefty presence in the province of Sindh, the southern province of Sindh. Now, what is a contradiction as far as these projected results are concerned is that the party that is understood to be the most popular party in Pakistan, that is to say, the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, the Justice Party led by former Prime Minister and now incarcerated leader Imran Khan, is almost surely not going to have a chance of forming the next government, because it is reported widely that having fallen foul of the military establishment is determined to keep Khan and his party out of government. And they've taken a whole series of measures to ensure that the party has no chance as emerging as the most popular party or the largest party. There's been a heavy turnout today in Pakistan, and that heavy turnout points to the fact that there are many angry voters out there who are aggrieved at the very repressive tactics taken against Khan's party, and they may well set the balance. But let's assume that those factors are under control, as we have been led to believe, and that Sharif does go on to form the next government and emerge as Pakistan's as Prime Minister for the fourth time. There will be many looking to him when it comes to Pakistan's regional policy, in the first instance, to try and normalize relations with Pakistan's biggest neighbor, India. Now, Sharif has long been known to favor normalizing relations because he believes that normalizing those relations is the key to reviving Pakistan's economy by mainly encouraging trade relations between India and Pakistan. Sharif will, of course, have two other problems on his hand with regards to regional policy. One is trying to come to some kind of agreement with the Taliban-led government in Afghanistan, because ever since they have assumed power in 2021, there has been a sharp spike of attacks against Pakistan, spearheaded by groups tied to the Taliban, to the Pakistani franchise, and it is believed that these attacks are encouraged by the Afghan government. I think the most important thing to know about these elections is just how far the military is mired in the political process in Pakistan, to the extent that the very credibility, transparency and fairness of these elections has been put into question, because the military is determined to keep one party, widely acknowledged to be the most popular party in Pakistan, out of any chance of forming the next government. Unfair elections is...
There are large sections, traditional customs in the northeast, in Kerala. There is matrilineal line of succession. Even property division sometimes happens through the mother's side, not necessarily the father's side. How are you going to account for all of that in a uniform civil code? आपका जो objection है प्रक्रिया से है, लेकिन principle से नहीं है.
In Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Odisha, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, these 5 states where you don't have a strong organization, how are you going to make up those numbers is the question, sir.
We are a party who knows where we are strong and where we are weak. We are identifying very good faces who will contest, who are local faces who will do wonders in the election.
The argument we are hearing repeatedly today that North states, because BJP rules in North states, are being benefited at the expense of South state because BJP is not in power in South. BJP was in power in Karnataka till 6 months ago.
The Prime Minister is right when he says that the opposition is busy shooting itself in the foot. You know, the metaphoric pistol is pulled out and the Congress, while running the race, suddenly decides to shoot Mamata Banerjee in the leg. Then she whips out her little pistol and shoots Rahul Gandhi in his back by saying that what's he doing in my state? Why is he here?
How I would describe it, they will be remembered as the most unfair elections in Pakistan in a generation.
Whatever it's going to be, no party is going to have a majority. So we are looking at what everybody has anticipated, and that is a coalition government, which would probably be unstable, weak. If it does, the results do come in, and it does look like the independents are the majority, the big loser won't necessarily be the PML-N, it will be the army, because the army really has staked its reputation on its ability to deliver this vote. Now, it hasn't done that openly, but that's really what's involved here. He's now out of the picture because of that, but not entirely out of the picture. He's really giving instructions to his party, and so it is a most complicated situation, and one which suggests that we can anticipate now, whatever the outcome, that the country is going to be politically unstable more than it has been. The danger here is that if they feel that the election is stolen, that they could very well create enormous, and I'm talking here about the supporters of Imran Khan. They might take to the streets, and we would find a level of violence on the election that would go beyond anything we've seen before. And if things really get out of hand, then you would have the military declaring martial law, and in effect, we would now have another military-run government. The feeling is that right now the country has entered a period of great instability, and what I'm suggesting that this election, which one would hope would resolve a lot of this, could very well be the basis for now a even deeper exposure to forces which would create instability.
The army is also player, though the army is not on the ballot paper, but there has been wild speculation about the army's role in manipulating these elections. So I think it's best for people to understand that the army is also a player in these elections. The projected results of these general elections suggest that the Pakistan Muslim League, led by former Prime Minister Sharif, is the likely front runner. He, of course, comes in with the aim of assuming the role of Prime Minister for the fourth time, which will be a record.
A very warm welcome. You're watching CNN News 18. I'm Akanksha Swaroop and we are getting in breaking inputs coming in from Pakistan. Remember, their results are coming in thick and fast as the country is all set to elect a new government. And amidst all of these developments, former Pak Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif has claimed victory in these polls, inviting all parties to form a coalition government. Even as the counting of these votes was ongoing, Nawaz Sharif said that the PML-N had emerged as the single largest party but did not have the majority. He also says that he had told former Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif to reach out to the PPP's Asif Ali Zardari, JUIF's Fazlur Rahman and MQMP's Khalid Maqbool Siddiqui for the formation of a coalition government. Now, as of 8 p.m. Pakistan time, we are learning that 221 National Assembly results have been announced. Independent candidates, remember, they are playing a key role in the ongoing results, as we are learning that they are leading with 90 seats, followed by 62 seats of PML-N, 51 seats of PPP, 11 for MQM, 2 for IPP, 2 by JUI as well as 2 for PMLQ. We'll break down these seats for you in just a bit, but for more details, let's quickly go across to Abhishek Jha, who's joining me on the phone line. Abhishek, in the speech that has been delivered by the PML-N Supremo, what is very surprising is the change of stance and the tone of tenor. It is the same Nawaz Sharif who had taken on the army during his previous stint, has now in fact softened his tone by saying that I tried to take this country in 1990 to a different tangent, but we lost track. How do you put this into perspective?
Well, whatever we are, hearing from Nawaz Sharif is also a lot of realization that he has had in this election, because apparently he has only struggled to, win his own seat. There was a time when he was trailing from his nearest contender, that was from PTI, and there is still accusation coming from PTI that there are reports and there are rigging. PTI's accusation is that, and also the Punjab province, which happens to be the stronghold of Sharif family, couldn't give them enough number of seats that would make them, one of the biggest party in the parliament. So I think a lot of realization is partly why Nawaz Sharif's tone has come down, and he has also extended kind of olive leaf to other political parties, where now Shehbaz Sharif seems to be steering all the policy and negotiations from the side of PML-N. There is also chances that we have already reported that Shehbaz Sharif could emerge as a PM candidate because we have seen Bilal Bhutto's earlier interview during political campaign time. He was very annoyed and he was apprehensive about Nawaz Sharif becoming Prime Minister. So clearly Shehbaz Sharif has been in the power and he can once again become the Prime Minister as a consensus candidate.
Absolutely. It's very interesting, Abhishek, you say that, considering just a day before the polls, the PML-N had stepped out, and in fact Shehbaz Sharif had made it amply clear that if their party comes with a heavy mandate, it will be Nawaz Sharif who will be leading. But now with this probability comes into effect a different sort of formulation for the government that we may see in the days to come. But I'll ask you to in fact continue staying with us. Let's also break down the numbers that have poured in so far for all our viewers. Remember, it is 221 as far as the National Assembly results that have just arrived are concerned. Independent candidates, remember, are leading with 90 seats, and the victory for PML-N comes at a time when it has secured 62 seats. So as the single largest party, it is of course heading with the number 62. PPP has come up with 51 seats so far. MQM has won 11 seats, 2 seats for IPP, JUI